Remember, life is a race. अगर तेज नहीं भागोगे तो कोई तुम्हें कुचल के आगे निकल जाएगा.
From day one, they're thinking in terms of what am I going to do after I graduate. I don't think we need to think about it. Parents are asking questions. Let's live the experience. Swami Vivekananda said there's a perfection which exists in every individual. The role of education is to bring out that perfection. We have to have an admission process which is a process really of selection but also a process of rejection. So you should prepare hard. If you get in, it's well and good. But if you don't get... For parents, I think the thing is that, the children have a way of, they will make their own choices. They will learn through their own mistakes.
When you have such a thing, a student take an extreme step under your watch, what is it that goes through your mind?
Unfortunately, because of the nature and the shortage of quality institutions, what we have in our system is that we prioritize competition. I think somehow I feel the pressure on our students is more.
When they do get into IITs, what is it that they need to know?
The first thing that they need to know is we have trained people because the JEE has a pattern. What has happened is that the numbers have increased.
Of students?
Of students. So for all of us to be able to give that same amount of attention is a challenge. We are trying our best to do that. Unfortunately, we're a prisoner of our own success in a way.
Hello and welcome to TDM Manthan. So guys, today's podcast is for students, all the 14-15-year-olds who are preparing to get into the Indian Institute of Technology, one of the IITs in this country. This podcast is for them. Also, it is not just for the students but also for students' parents, especially because when we are seeing in our country today, there has been a spate of student suicides, and mostly IITs are associated most of the times with stress, fear, anxiety, depression. We have movies like 3 Idiots which have showcased this kind of thing. But today I have with us someone who will tell you that IITs are not at all about this. And here he is to guide those young students into a new life and how not to be afraid or scared to get on with life even if you do not make it to one of the IITs, and that how it is not the end of the road, neither for the student nor for their parents. Also, because mental health has become such an important thing, and we've had, especially after the pandemic, this is a very, very important conversation to hear for all parents and students who want to or who are preparing or dreaming to get into one of their dream IITs. So today we have with us someone, a person who has studied at one of the country's first generation IITs, taught at one of the IITs, headed a wing at one of the IITs, and now he's heading one of the IITs, and he's Professor Rangan Banerjee, the director and head of IIT-Delhi. Today we have with us in this conversation a very, very important and focused conversation on how students' lives change once they're out of school and once they get into these, this rigor of competitive examinations. So please do tune in and watch this podcast till the end. Sir, welcome to our show. We are so glad to have you with us. It is the first time we are having an IIT director with us. So IIT-Delhi is a first generation institution, and you have come a long way through the IITs. You studied at IIT Bombay, you taught at IIT Bombay, you headed the R&D wing at IIT Bombay, and then you've come here and you're heading an institution, you're heading an IIT. So it's very important to know first that when you were younger, because we are catering to students, when you were younger, what prompted you to apply or get into an IIT?
So, I was very much interested in mathematics. And in my 11th and 12th, I was, in college, I was thinking of either doing something in mathematics Engineering, I also liked bio, but I was not sure if I would see myself in medicine. So I decided that I should look at engineering. And I was also interested in economics. That was one of the areas which I was thinking.
Different tangents.
Three different, but mainly it was mathematics and science. And I studied in Mumbai, and there was a whole cohort of from our college, and even from, people who were actually looking at engineering and medicine. Those were, even at that time, this is talking about the 1980s. So I gave the JEE, and I did reasonably well in the JEE, and then I took up engineering. So that was so it was at that time we were the second 4-year batch. And so I did my BTech in mechanical engineering in the IIT Bombay campus at Powai. And so that was the initial phase. After that, during that time, I wanted to be always at the interface of, I wanted to look at engineering and industry, as well as I did see myself in teaching, even initially. So I started working. I worked for a year, then came back to IIT Bombay and did a PhD. And I did a PhD on looking at how do you apply thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, to industrial processes to improve them. I mean,
Yes.
And so I did spend, during my PhD, I spent time in industry, looked at real processes. After doing my PhD, then I worked in, then I came to Delhi. And after PhD, my first job was in Delhi in an organization called TERI in the energy sector.
TERI.
Yes. And at that time, we were doing the first set of, we had an energy audit bus, and we were looking at how to improve the efficiency of industry. So I visited a large number of industries, and we were looking at things. Then I shifted to another organization, again, not in Delhi, but in Gurgaon. And at that time, Gurgaon was a completely different Gurgaon from what it is today.
Right.
So in 1991, I was at Engineers India Limited in their R&D. EIL. And we had a R&D test facility. Then I wanted to move, I wanted to get back to academics. And there's an institute which is near, it's an institute which is Indira Gandhi Institute of Development Research. And at that time, they had a project which they were looking at how can you make industries and the electricity demand side management for the industrial sector. So I joined there as a faculty member and was working on this project. And then in 1993, I joined IIT Bombay. At that time, in an interdisciplinary program on energy systems engineering, as a part of, it was hosted in the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I was in IIT Bombay for about 28 years, doing a whole host of different things. One of the most, of course, teaching was a big part of that journey, and teaching and research and trying to do applied work. I also felt that energy itself was a big area, and it was not enough to have an interdisciplinary program. So we actually grew that interdisciplinary program into a new department. And we did that at a time, a little bit ahead of the curve. Now energy is a big thing, but at that time it was sort of, so we created a department and a new BTech MTech program. And it was one of the first departments of energy science and engineering in the country. Subsequently, I also got into administration. I was the associate dean of R&D and then the dean R&D. So I was trying to see how we can look at making research that makes a difference. And then since since in 2022 for the last 4 years I have been at IIT-Delhi heading this institute. So that's basically been
That's
the
a long journey. And so you said mathematics was your favorite. So were
Was
you,
one of my favorite. Yes. So I really like maths.
So were you always competitive while growing up? And you had examples at home,
But
of
in a sense,
people getting into
we had
IITs.
we had a I mean, we had a culture where education and learning was important. Both parents felt that, and that was there. Competitive in growing up, in a sense, in school. I mean,
Like you always came
I
first.
used to do well. Let's put it that way.
You're not
But
saying
then,
it.
when you, in school and college, you did quite reasonably well. Of course, when you come into IIT, you find a lot of students, all who are equally good. So, it's sort of...
So that is the point where the shift happens,
That's true.
So that is what we also want to address this. If you can address this to the students, who are 14, 15-year-olds gearing up for IITs. IITs, their dream, their life is about IIT, getting into an IIT. So, they start from maybe 6th, 7th class onwards, they to the coaching and everything. And if even if they are the brightest students of their classes, when they come to an IIT, it's completely different.
So I think there are two things, Vatsala, that, students, IITs, unfortunately, we have 23 IITs. We can admit a certain number of students. For instance, IIT Delhi admits 1,200 students, right? But people, if you see the total number which is giving the JEE mains, we are talking of 8 lakh students. So we have to have an admission process, which is a process really of selection, but also a process of rejection. It's like, we are selecting only, sometimes in some of our things, it's less than 1%, sometimes 0.1% of the people, if you see the ranks of our computer science or our maths and computing. So a lot of it is about preparation, but there are a lot of very good students who don't get in. And it doesn't matter.
So why does that happen? And why it doesn't matter?
That happens because we have only a fixed number of seats and we have so many good students in our country, right? Okay. So I think the main thing to do is, yes, you must try, you must prepare. But, if IIT doesn't happen, it's no big deal.
It's
right?
not a big deal?
It's not a big deal because you are what you are, and there are many, whether it is the NITs, whether there are so many now new private universities, many different colleges. There are lots of things one learns, and you have access. If you have the drive and initiative, going forward, it's one step. There are many steps in life. You have some successes, you have some failures. And unfortunately, we hype up all of this. We have to realize that there are, and every exam we have an acceptance error, a rejection error. We have very little problems of acceptance error, but there are many good students who do not get in. And it may be just a particular day when one performs differently.
Right.
And, so I think the point is, yes, you should prepare hard. If you get in, it's well and good. But if you don't get in, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You have to go beyond it, and then you have to set your goals because these are all, we get certain inputs and we build ourselves. And what we do in IIT is we are giving a holistic learning experience. So the learning happens in the classrooms. It also happens in the hostels. It happens in the clubs, the sports and the cultural. It's an all-round growth. So we have to believe in ourselves, and we try to develop everyone according to their capability. It's not just about competition. We have to, one of the important lessons in life is that we have to learn to work with others. We have to be in a team kind of thing. Unfortunately, because of the nature and the shortage of quality institutions, what we have in our system is that we prioritize competition, and that to an extent it's important because you want people to work hard and aspire for their goals. But we need to also have empathy and work with things we have to fulfill, because in society we need to find roles for everyone, and someone is good in something, is good at something else. With training you can become good at something else. So it's not, people are never static. So I believe as an educator, we have to bring out the best in all the people that we have. I mean, this is something similar to, what Swami Vivekananda said, there's a perfection which exists in every individual. The role of education is to bring out that perfection. We don't do a very good job at it. But the idea is
we
that...
don't find so many good teachers who are...
Yeah, but I think the point is that, a lot of it is also about confidence, about what we believe in. Finally, we have an exam through which we admit people. Someone gets in, someone doesn't get in. Of course, by and large, the people who get in are very good. But many of the people who don't get in are also very good. So I think we just set, it becomes it becomes a cause for stress, which is not at all good, because finally people will find their own callings, and there are hundreds of examples of such things. So there are people who not done well, and then they aspire to be in IIT, then they will come, maybe they will do somewhere else, and then they do in the masters, and then some of them do much better than those who were their compatriots. So,
and you've seen that in life?
Many.
Can you give an example just to motivate someone?
There are many such examples. Then, so a lot of it is about the confidence and the ability to do things, and the willingness, and then the drive. So the positive thinking and believing that you can do something, and then also it's very important that you find your passion, you decide what you want to do in life. And sometimes, see, it's very difficult when you are talking of someone who's at the 12th standard. We are talking of an 18-year-old or 17, 18-year-old. He or she is reading, listening, maybe the parents, maybe the peers. So how do you decide, right? And so it's natural to be confused. It's natural to have to say, I like this and I like this also. And there are always, you can take something, paths can also be changed. So it's not, it's not critical that and usually what happens is people often decide based on their ranks and what is but that's not necessarily, so what I'm just saying is that, you have to work hard, you have to find your passion, but it's also, one has to have a sense of perspective on these things. And you have to have a thing that, I will find my path.
So when we say that, when you were younger, you grew on that campus, IIT Bombay. So how things were different? Because, that shift that came from your time to now.
Oh, a lot of shifts. So let me give you some examples, okay? So, for instance, we stayed in a hostel. Now, for instance, if you wanted to contact your family wants to contact you, what happens in the hostel? There are 300, 400 students. There's one payphone booth, right? So there'll be a call and someone is waiting to take the call. Someone will shout, you're in a wing in one time. By the time you come, the phone has been disconnected. So there's no connectivity in that. There's no... Think of a world without social media. without
Yes.
internet, without the computers that we had. We had a first year course in computer programming, and there was this Russian, EC 1030. It was a computer where we used to have to there were card decks, right? And the issue was everyone had assignments, so you had to be careful that someone doesn't, when the printout and the output comes, you have to be able to get your output so someone doesn't steal it and put their card in. So
Quite
it's
a
a completely different thing. And so then what happens is but the relationships in the wings with the students and others was much more connected. And it was at that time, of course, now Powai has Hiranandani and others. IIT Bombay was a little away from the city, right? So the ecosystem there, we had lots of activities and sports and cultural, and people would gather in the lounge. There would be a TV set, and then people would when they would have a popular Chitrahar was there, the entire wing, people would come down for it, and there would be occasionally movies screened, but it was different, completely different.
And
right?
it was nicer?
Well, I wouldn't say nicer. In a sense, it was different is what I would say. Where the way in which we interact with technology and things which people take for granted
now
was not there, right? So, I mean, a value judgment saying something is nicer is not, things evolve, right? And but maybe in the hostel, the connectedness was more. Of course, there were, I mean, it's not that there were groups and people, there are different views on various things. Even then, I mean, we still had faculty members complaining that students wouldn't come to class or wouldn't pay attention. We have that accentuated in a different way. But today, the challenges are more because every student has so many other sources of information, right? You teach something in the class, people are immediately Googling to see what you're saying, whether this is correct or not.
Are they allowed to do that?
Of course they're allowed to. Who stops them? So the point is that people's attention spans are much smaller.
Nowadays.
Yeah. And I think somehow I feel the pressure on our students is more. Because when we joined, I mean, I'm talking of 1982, IIT was not so much of a brand.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. It was a brand. It was a desirable thing to go to. But this post the .com 90s and before 2000, that's when there was a lot more hype. Right. So, for instance, we used to when we went for jobs, people weren't really worried about jobs. Because you knew that, you've learned, so we will get a job. Okay, if I don't get this, I'll get something else. So it was much more,
they had that ease in them
much
about
more,
it.
Yeah. So I think, I also feel that students here are today's generation of students are much more focused and driven. We were not so driven. I mean,
So is that a good thing or how do you
it's
say?
mixed. I mean, it's a good thing in a sense that they're driven, but I think this sort of stepping back and thinking of what am I doing? Is it the right thing? That even earlier, there's always a herd instinct. But I think the pressure on people to conform, people are right from day one, they're thinking in terms of what am I going to do after I graduate? I don't think we need to think about it. Parents are asking questions.
Right.
Let's live the experience. I try to tell people, but I think
it doesn't seem
the
to
expectations are very high from people, and they want to do this, and then that imposes pressure on them. So we are trying to ease some of this.
So this is very much like, if I can cite like in the image that we were shown of 3 Idiots, the movie that everybody relates IITs with. So this
that's a sort of, of course in movies you always have it as black and white. It's not that, the point is what we tried. faculty and administrators are human beings, right? And we relate, we exist for our students. So we have a rapport, we try to do, but there's always this generation
So
gap.
because
and which is,
you also spoke the same thing, they should, like, the moment this shift from IITs becoming centers of learning to centers of jobs. Okay, now I want to know
Yes.
about the placement first.
Yeah, that
So-
is the, and then unfortunately, this is sort of, we're a prisoner of our own success in a way, because in all of this, what happens is that there is so much hype that even an undergraduate student who gets a reasonable job at the end of 4 years
Right.
is always comparing with those big package things,
The
which
big
are
packages,
which
yeah.
are actually global jobs, and when you translate, you don't actually translate it in
The
that
1.2 crore packages
or
which are
more.
published.
And,
Yes,
but
yeah.
we at IIT Delhi say we are not talking about packages. We do not disclose the
So now
average
there's a
salaries.
policy not to
We don't
disclose.
but you'll see in many places people are doing that. So we
Right.
try to, because unnecessary. This is, there's you try to find your calling. You take a matching of things. The salary is incidental. It helps you, gives you some thing. I mean, and everyone gets. I mean, an IIT Delhi graduate anyway will have a reasonable. I mean, you not really have to bother about some of these things, right? But the question is, if you want to maximize, of course, young people will maximize the initial earnings. There's some things where you earn more little later. There are certain things in terms of, so I think, but I guess everyone has to learn some of these as they go along. We try to have, at our institute, we've been trying to have alumni come and mentor and talk to students, telling them about their journey and other things. So I think it's hopefully that, there's some balance is needed.
So when you speak to your students informally or whenever, when you interact with them, do you see a great deal of yourself in them? And when you were younger, what advice would you give them then?
Absolutely. I do see a lot of, I see the spirit, the enthusiasm, and I also see in many of our students a much more of a can-do attitude, which is very good. People are willing to take risks and become entrepreneurs. So I think, I really believe that we get excellent students, and they are, so I don't subscribe to the feeling that, the good old days where we had very good students, and it's the same, it's similar kinds of things. We have very motivated students who really want to do things and who have, and as an institution, see what has happened is that the numbers have increased.
Of students?
So for all of us to be able to give that same amount of attention is a challenge. We are trying our best to do that, because we have to really, we exist for our students, and we need to also, what has happened is over the last 2 decades, we've been much more focused on research and on impact. So that means faculty members are not just focusing on undergrad. We are 60% postgraduates. We have 3,600 PhDs, right? It's a very large cohort. So,
Right.
You focus on research, you focus on PhDs, or you focus on teaching the young people. So it's a combination of. So we are trying to re-emphasize this connect with young students, and this is one of the things which is.
So when now a young person, who's preparing to get into the IITs, when they do get into IITs, what is it that they need to know after they get into
So
an
I
IIT?
think the first thing that they need to know is, see, we have trained people, because the JEE has a pattern, and that pattern is usually MCQs, right?
Right.
MCQs, now we are trying to move away from that pattern, but even then it's like you have to get the right answer in things, and we have to realize that we are extremely competitive. We are trying to we have to realize that we are looking at unstructured problems, and we are finding new solutions. So we have to think in a different way. We have to look at the way in which knowledge has developed. We have to read the books, see the things, interact with people, right? and then focus on, there's a different way of learning at the IITs, which is quite different from whatever you've done in school, right? And it's not, we teach you the fundamentals, we look at things, but then you will need to apply it in different contexts. So all the exams that we have within IIT, most of the faculty members, are reasonably challenging, right? And then you need to be able to think. We try to open up the mind and the ability to be able to handle different kinds of, so we need to be open to learning how to learn, actually. And
not get stuck to the school.
Yeah. So that takes a little bit of things. We have now in our new curriculum, we've also have some courses where we are teaching life skills and also how to look at success, look at all of this. So we have to have these conversations. A lot of the learning happens through peers. So we are also trying to have capstone projects, team building exercises. I think it's exciting because, I think the challenge for us is to be able to excite students in the classroom. And that's a very difficult challenge. So the first thing in that is for us to connect with the students and then do that.
So that is a difficult thing.
It is a difficulty.
Sir, so, after you joined 2022, this whole thing on mental health, because, after the pandemic, we saw a spate of suicides. And unfortunately, only last 2 years, it's again, continuing. Only yesterday, the government set up a committee to review, suicides at the IIT Kanpur campus. We've seen that across campuses. So mental health became such a huge issue when you started heading this institution. So as an administrator, what has been your experience? Because, when you have such a thing, a student take an extreme step under your watch, what is it that goes through your mind,
It's terrible. It's terrible. It's devastating.
So
it's something which is almost impossible to handle. We try to find what are the reasons. It's very difficult to find. We have at IIT-Delhi tried to enhance our systems, counseling,
right.
the buddy network, academic mentoring, and look at the overall ecosystem, create support mechanisms. But it's tragic. Any loss of life and things is extremely tragic. And we have tried to imbibe, connectedness is the most important thing. And we need to have people sharing issues, looking at support systems. So these are, people want immediate solutions. These are long-term systemic solutions. And of course, immediately one wants to, but as an institution, see what happens is we have in our system in higher education, higher education systems, we have residential campuses. So we are also responsible for the hostels and for the things. And so in a sense, and students also when they come, they are young adults and they take, so you have a support system in your family, you have a support system within that. And the problem often is that when people have problems, we need to get them to talk and to figure out and then get the support. And so whenever such things happen, people want to find someone to blame. And of course, we as administrators and institutions, we have to take part of the blame. But we have to find ways to see that, we can have a happier environment and freer and happier environment. And I think a lot of it is to do in terms of relaxing the pressure looking at ways, creating support systems.
Sir,
So it's all work in progress for us. It's a very difficult issue. And I think in general, whether it goes to the, loss of life, which is an extreme thing, but even otherwise, when you look at people who are not happy, and then there's depression and then things like that, we need to, it is something that we are constantly trying to improve.
So just one thing that you would want to tell students and parents to navigate, how to navigate this pressure?
Well, I think the first thing is to, and this is something I tell the first year students, that you're coming here, you're going to have freedom, keep connected with your family. Tell them exactly what you're feeling. Talk to them. They are there always for you. They unconditionally support you. Don't hide anything from them. And then we are also there. We also have you. We tell them what are the mechanisms that we have. But I think this whole thing that you are not alone. Right?
And parents also have to understand something.
Parents also have to do that.
Your message to them, sir,
For parents, I think the thing is that, students have, the children have a way of, they will make their own choices. They will learn through their own mistakes. And I think we need to guide them, suggest certain things, but we need to sort of let go of it. We are also parents. So, it's tricky, it's tough, because you think, oh no, why is he doing that? Or why is she doing that? Right. It should be like this. But, you have to, it's a delicate, you have to navigate it, and you have to do that where you say that whatever it is, okay, you're feeling this, I think this is a better option, but go ahead, we'll support you in any case. You make a mistake.
And the role of faculty also comes in.
The role of faculty comes in. We are trying to make it more personalized, but the fact is now we have larger classes and things, so that rapport, and then what happens is that's why we have these senior students and alumni also. Sometimes a generation gap, people always, that rapport is difficult. So some faculty members have it. They can make that rapport. But systemically, how do we do that? But I think we are working on many of these things. So.
Sir, thank you so much for your time with us. And I think, please, if you give us time again, we'd like to shoot a bigger version.
We'll do another one where we have more time.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for being on our show.